Natural boosters. I don't know his name.
Yahsonn Tafari.
Oh, brother man. How
Yes,
you
sir.
doing?
I'm giving thanks and praises. All Natural Boosters
Yeah.
is the name of the company that I
Okay.
do preventative value added products that are made
All
from
right.
natural plants and things like that.
Very well, brother. I listen to you sometime. I listen to your voice note and also listen to your WhatsApp meeting with our brother Chisaro. I mean, I must confess that you are quite detailed, and I am pleased to be here with you. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. No problem.
All right, I'm just driving in now. I'm just driving into my apartment. So, but I'm here. I just got home. Just luckily the time is right for us. So
Yeah,
I'm going into my
I just
apartment
got
now.
in, and I wanted to make sure that the thing was on time because I know this is the first time we're talking, brother Chukwuemeka. But it's
Yeah.
I was born here in the USA, so I know a lot of the self determination movements and the attempts for them to connect to Africa that haven't gone well here. And I think for the past 7 years, or maybe for the better part of the decade, we've been talking. And this brother here is one of the most consistent as far as communication goes in the whole Caribbean of network that I have. A lot of time people, you'll talk to them, there'll be an agreement, then they'll miss a meeting or they won't say what time they're available. And you find out it's because they have a lot of these activists have politician friends. So
Yeah.
it's not,
All
yeah.
right.
So he's one of the most consistent people. And I think it would be fair to plan around the island that he's from, St. Kitts and Nevis, and I also
Okay.
I have a
Okay. Saint
consistent connection.
Saint
Yeah.
Saint Kitts Saint Kitts and Nevis.
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
they have the Pan
Okay.
African flag, red, black, and green Pan African flag too. So it's
Yeah.
not
Okay.
hard to forget.
I don't know much about
Hmm.
I know that I mean they have a cultural history that is tied with the Pan Africanism.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. It's been 100 years since we have a Marcus Garvey in Nugu Street, so that was the last time they had a real
Okay.
strong leader in that area as far that communicated with all of them. So communication today is really hard. It's too much politics, in my experience.
Okay.
Too much red
All
tape.
right. Good to have us here. Good to have us here. I pray. I wish more people can join.
Hmm. Well,
More people
I,
should join.
yeah, I
But
might. The thing is with a lot of these places, things might change if you're able to finance it and just show up. Show up like this is a ticket.
sorry.
'Cause it's me. I haven't ever financed a trip to the Caribbean or got paperwork. And I've heard people that travel from Africa. There's a lot of times there's issues and barriers to make it difficult. But if we can have consistent finance to travel and show up, and less texting and more just show up and plan face to face, I think things would change faster.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, well, like I said, we are making very thorough. I mean, very huge plans over the travel because the Igbo people here have really woken up more because the first movement that we've had here that has united our people and is still uniting our people, we call it Unify Igbos now. So hashtag Unify Igbos now. So ever since we launched that particular movement, it has been really tremendous because right here in the home country, we were our people, and it was all politically instigated by the government of Nigeria and also coupled with the British government because their sole purpose is to divide the Igbo people balkanize us and render us politically inactive. It's all
Mm.
politically motivated. That's why I said that because politics is a game of numbers. When you
Mhm.
weaken the people by balkanizing them, they will never have their political. They will never have their political future. I mean, they can never be in control of their political future,
And
and
by
thereby you
balkanized,
can control them.
by balkanized, you mean the regional, the eastern region, or the south and all this Kogi states and
Yes,
yeah.
yes. You know, you're familiar with that. You understand because right here, the Igbo people, you already know, the peculiar challenges that we are facing, because in the Igbo we are more than 60 million people, but we have been made to believe that you can only find the Igbo people in 5 states when we are more than that.
Mhm.
We are more than that because
We have
we
yeah.
are, yeah. So. Um, they have used some systematic instruments to brainwash a lot of people to
Mhm.
believe that they are not even Igbo people, even when they speak the language in a different dialect. You know, we have one Igbo language, but different dialects, many
Mhm.
dialects. But when you speak, just like the Mbise people, when an Mbise man speaks, the Isuman will understand. When the Okaman speaks, the Ikwere. So but most of these people that were ceded to other states has been made to believe that they are different people, that because they speak different dialect, that they are not Igbo people. So the movement has helped to use in using sensitization in bringing them together through our cultural heritage. You know,
Mhm.
so we have really been successful right here. So we know that once we launch the international unification, that is Anamacho one in English, if it is translated in English, I'm looking for my brother. Then we can connect. We can
Mhm.
connect the Caribbean brothers and use common DNA to connect these people. You understand? We might not be speaking the same language no more. We might not be, you understand, having the same culture, but because we have the same DNA, we can be talking. Now you bring in the Pan Africanism. I read where you said about bringing all the African people together. I think that is another bigger picture. So I'm interested in this.
Yeah, it actually is already in place. What one of the things that we read articles before by the the minister culture who happened to be Yoruba, Femi Coyote. He wrote it about 10 years ago, but then it died down. Where he was talking about how Nigeria, the ethnicities are actually they're a broader category that covers the whole uh, Africa. So when we started talking about these things 7 years ago, and we brought the Yoruba to the table. We brought the African Americans, the Black Panthers security groups to the table. And that's how we started seeing security movements across Yoruba land that were calling themselves the Leopard. And then Igbo had some, we know we had the fighting security groups between the state and the Biafra security. And then now we see the Sahel, a larger ethnic group, has their own security with Hausa and Bornu and Niger Republic. All these things in West Africa are connected to what we've been trying to connect people and connect ideas from America and the Caribbean, and things haven't worked out the way we wanted to. But the largest ethnic
Yeah,
groups, you stock Igbo 60 million, the Sahel, the Sudanese, Yoruba, Fulani, Hausa, all these ethnic groups are in West Africa. Then we have the Caribbean and African American, 200 million black people. Even if we only get a percentage of them to have speak with one voice, it makes the West.
yeah,
You see what's going on with. Uh, I think those countries that united aren't even up to 80 million. It's not even half the size of Nigeria, and the West they're in the news every day of global media.
yeah,
So for what we're trying to do is even a larger thing. I was excited when you said Gabon because they know that they're related to Calabar and Igbo on some level. Even and
yeah,
the Igbo people that went there during the Biafra War and migration are very large. It's,
yeah, yeah,
so the whole Southern Africa could trace to Igbo land. That's why anytime you hear, sometimes the United Nations will even visit Igbo land and say, "Stop your politics," because they'll come. The United Nations will come to Igbo land because we have a larger group that we're part of, the Caribbean and the Southern Africans. So this is a big thing that you're trying to do, and I'm with you. In fact, because of your connection to Eze Aguilar and his connection to over here where I'm living, we've had issues getting the Igbo and Zuku and the Igbo to work with the community here and organize. So you have,
Okay, Mzopandibo.
yeah, we have Jacksonville, Florida. We have an Igbo association here.
Yeah.
That,
Right now,
yeah.
right now, I'm in Aguilera. Like I told you that I'll be having an audience with Ezeri. That will be
Mhm.
tomorrow in the morning. I was scheduled to meet. I'm scheduled to meet him by 9:30 a.m. So, but I arrived Aguilera today. I just entered into my apartment right now, so I'll be meeting him. So, in case there is something you would want us to also get out, or any information you want us to get from him, definitely I'll be here to do that.
So, for example, if we can have the Igbo, because he's going to be traveling next month, I think, or July, I think June or July, he's be coming here. And the Igbo Association in Jacksonville, I think they've attended in the past. If he can get the Igbo associations here to promote Unify Igbos now, I think that'll move faster. Because myself, what I do is I collect contacts and but I'm not as good as an organizer. Even I don't drive, don't have passport. So my thing is I can make the introductions, but I know if I try to lead, it won't be successful. So even where you're from, you're connected to where I live, and if you could get the Igbo Association to be more active, we have opportunities. So the U.S. Virgin Islands Association, they have an issue with the U.S. government because they want to be part of the Caribbean community. So they reached out to me based on the Igbo heritage and the U.S. Virgin Islands self determination. They want to be part of us, and they invited us to World Festival, but I haven't gotten the Igbo Association here to participate. So, but if you could convince them or connect with them, if I have more support here in Jacksonville, we've already have another Caribbean country that wants to work with us. There's
Okay.
there's a Haitian contact. They're ready to go. Yeah, but if we go with separately, things might fall apart. Because there's always conspiracies between the Caribbean not to support each other, and we don't want to have any weakness when we start. So
Okay.
we can count if we have Saint Kitts and Nevis from Jacksonville, Florida. We have three countries. We got Haiti, a Haitian woman who wants to participate, and she has the Haitian Empire movement where they had the village government. They didn't have democracy. They had this traditional government, and they want to restore that in Haiti. She wants to work with us here, and
Okay.
St. Kitts and Nevis and U.S. Virgin Islands self determination. They want to be part of Africa and the Caribbean instead of U.S.
Okay,
territory.
so one second. Um, my brother here, where are you from originally? Africa or some Caribbean territory?
You mean I?
Yes.
Okay, I am from Africa. I am from Nigeria. I'm an Igbo man.
Okay. Wonderful. Now, pardon my ignorance now. What is explain to me about the tribe Igbo and the connection to the Caribbeans? I guess it's a teachable moment because this is one of the things that I've been trying to highlight to my other brother here that the part of the efforts and the frustrations that might be encountered as a result of seeking to achieve the goal that he is I should say we are seeking to, because I'm a part of the movement as well, is the fact that a lot of the people in the Caribbean are very much ignorant to a lot of who and what group or organization or sector they should be associated with in Africa. Yes, many know that Yeah, we were brought, our foreparents would have been brought from the Caribbean, I'm sorry, brought from Africa and brought to the West. Some maybe would have sailed there before because there's history to prove that many of us was there, even those what they call the Taino people and all that. Um, there were our people who would have sailed long before Europe would have figured out anything. However, um, a lot of the folks who were taken from the continent and moving forward, we were given a Eurocentric um, teaching. Everything was stripped from our foreparents. The religion, the name, our spiritual practices, all of that was banned. Certain books and so on were not allowed to come in the territory. Anything that would go against the colonial teaching and what they were seeking to indoctrinate. So you find that a lot of our people in the Caribbean are very ignorant to even me, as informed as I may be. I am very ignorant in relation to this aspect of connection and understanding truly who and which group am I connected to and where I'm from and all of these things. So it is quite important still for us to even begin to like have forums like this, and even whether it's a Zoom or podcast or whatever it is, to help to explain some of these things to a lot of our people, because you would not necessarily get people willing to fight if they don't even really truly understand what they're fighting for. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's kind of what I am seeking to get a little bit of help with. If you can't help me with that, so so help to explain to me the Igbo, what's the difference, how are we in the Caribbean connected, or how should I be attached or feel that connection with maybe who I should be really, but I just don't know.
very well, very well. Okay. On this, I will be quite brief, but after this, by the grace of God, I will be uh, we'll be we'll do this together.
Hmm.
Bring some historical documents that really points to the facts I'm about to tell you right now. Um, the Igbo people are people found in the Western African hemisphere. Um, we are people of culture, and outside that, we are spiritual people. During the transatlantic slave trade, the bulk of the slaves that were shipped over to the Caribbean were the Igbo slaves. They pronounced it as the Igbo or the Igbo, but right here we call it the Igbo. They are the same people. So, well, when this movement was happening, the bulk came from here, especially the Omambala region of Igbo land, the Omambala region, which has the Aguleri, the Eri, the Anam people, are the Omambala people. So they are shipped there because the white slave masters sorted this people more because they are resilient, they are strong, they can do the work. They are, I mean, they are strong, yeah, and intelligent, smart. So, if the total number of slaves is like, let me use an instance, 1 million slave that was shipped from Africa. The Igbo slave happen to make up the number, or happen to be around 600,000, or let's say 500,000, and other African people that were kidnapped also makes up the total number. You understand? So that is why we, the Igbo people, we are more passionate about the people of the Caribbean. Now there is a site called the Igbo London. Our brother here can give more insight about that, because he is in the United States. He understands the story about the Igbo landing. Even our king here, Izeri, travels to this site in Georgia to make some sacrifices, and also to make some reconnection with the ancestors that drowned themselves. They chose to drown themselves other than to be enslaved. You understand? So
Yes.
now this age and time, we have grown up. We have some substantial information.
You want me to speak, or I think he's freezing. Oh, I think he has.
Yeah, he
Oh,
seems to have some connection issues. But quite interesting so far, and I guess I'm getting a better, clearer picture. But this is, you see, what we're seeking to do here. It is a lot of this that we're gonna have to do within the Caribbean in order to first begin to sensitize and get people to understand how they're connected. Because now, I guess you would have to continue now to explain to me, because I was going to my follow up question was going to be, what is so significant then about the Igbo people? Um, why one? I would understand for us, it's important for us to know, because based on what he just explained, if 1 million people came, half or more than half of them would have been Igbo, and then the rest people, whether it's, whether the whatever different other groups that they would have been captured as well, would make up the other set of numbers. Okay, but what is so special or significant about this group, um, Igbo,
I want
and
to. I
how,
know.
how do we hold on a second? How do we identify? How would I, based on you giving me an explanation, be able to identify if, okay, maybe things that I was doing, or the way I think, or the way I act or acted, um, might resemble some of what you are going to point out to me? Okay, but there's having some issues. He's coming in and coming out.
I wanted to say
Uh-huh.
my perspective. I know it's popular to identify with the Bible and the Hebrew and Igbo, but from my research, um, I could say Igbo in certain languages mean forest people or hinterland, or type of farming community that's away from the rivers. So they have an irrigation farming system, or they make their own communities based on farming. And we're basically the group that connects the Gold Coast, the Ivory Coast, to the Congo River. We're the bridge group between the Niger and the Congo. If you're talking about geography, and we're connected by DNA. This is what research says to surrounding tribes as far as Ghana. Some say 99.9%. So we're connected to West African and Central African by DNA. But the thing that defines us is farming, and also in our tradition, we're very we have rules about individualism. So a lot of times we don't have a central. A lot of communities don't have a king that rules by descent, but is voted on based on. It's a voting system where you become a leader, and everybody's very individualistic, like you see in the diaspora. There's not a lot of kings here, um, but we have spokespersons. Basically, we say we don't bow down to anybody, and we suicide even is taboo. But in the case of Igbo landing, they said we can't. So it's worse to be a slave than to kill ourselves. But if we die, our spirits are gonna fly back to where we came from and reincarnate back in Africa. So they chose to drown themselves rather than be slaves. Even though, but we say suicide is we don't kill ourselves. We fight through it. So those are some of the things that distinguish us from related tribes in Africa. Oh, and also, from our region, the Bida Biafra is controversial, but a lot of the tribes called Bantu from Tanzania to Kenya to Uganda, they descend from our region. So if we have a family reunion in Africa, we could say Igbo land is the headquarters, and people will come. Gabon will come, and so that's why we had traditional leader who was an activist who got arrested in Kenya, but he was reaching out to a lot of Pan Africanists like PLO Lumumba and who you call it, Maponga Joshua, and they were trying to have this African reunion, the Bantu people, and he got arrested because he was I guess they say he was taking up arms, but he got arrested in Kenya. So half of Africa itself descends from the eastern region, the Bantu people. So it's taboo to even talk about us because we're the origin point where we could call a family reunion, connect a lot of Africa. That's the part that a lot of universities don't talk about. They erase history in Nigeria as well. Up to this day, they don't talk about that kind of history. So if you see what's going on in the Sahel, uh, you see it wasn't any protests in Nigeria because the politics of Nigeria is very against Pan Africanism. Even though we have entire states called Igbo states, and we were invented. The reason they gave us states even in the first place was there was a discussion of the United States of Africa. So Igbo land is also unique because we have states based on who we are. So we could call the United States of Africa, but the politics, that's what we're getting to, including the Caribbean, part of uniting Africa. These discussions help. But the politics of Britain is the politics of the Caribbean, the politics of Nigeria. So now we're meeting and we're discussing it. But that we have the same issue as far as colonialism.
So now, in terms of the Caribbean people, um, I understand the historical context that you just explained, but how do we connect ourselves or reconnect ourselves now to this bit of history that you're explaining? How would, for example, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis seek to connect themselves or reconnect themselves to this group or this organization? There might be, as I hear you mention, the remnants of some of these organizations in some Caribbean territories, where we know through our history that there's still some, so to speak, maroon community, which kind of lends to the type of living that is described by you and Chuck. I'm going to say Chuck because I don't want to butcher his name. um, you and Chuck, in terms of um, the lifestyle or the way that the Igbo people lived. It's sort of, when I listen, I envisage the Maroon type people and the Rastafari type communities that are sort of more like the outcast or not deemed to be um, subscribed to the quote unquote democratic system or European type systems that were imposed on the societies. They opted to be living just the way that they were living from ancient of times and just seek to continue that tradition and pass it on with whatever rules and customs that they were accustomed to in their various communities and traditions or practices.
Okay,
That's
that's
correct?
that's good. Yes, and I should mention Chukwuemeka, this brother Yahsonn. He's part of the what they call the Naya Bingi Theocratical Order, which is they're restoring African culture through the African royal drum from East Africa and Ethiopia and Uganda. They connect to. African tradition. So,
Well, I am not quite a member of the Naya Bingi organization. I am a Rastafari. I practice Rastafari
mm,
um, spirituality and liberty, but I'm not necessarily a part of any of the what they would call
mansion.
denomination or factors or mansions, so to speak, because I kind of have the view that to some extent sometimes lessens the mission and the vision, and
Mhm,
the vision, not division, the vision in the sense of, sometimes these little petty differences is what sometimes prevents us from reaching and achieving the goals. Like I usually would tell my Rastafari brothers and sisters, looking from the what we would call Babylon, we would say in Rastafari, Babylon, who is the police and the system that we oppose. From their perspective, they don't, when they see a Rastaman, they don't stop to see whether you're Bobo, whether you're Nyabingi, whether
mhm,
you're 12 tribe, but they see a Rastaman. We are the ones who amongst ourselves who are seeing these different and who might be aware of these differences that are among the groups, but based on how the system sees us, they just see a Rasta man. And
mhm,
so I usually tell my brothers and sisters, it is these things that we need to be able to look beyond and
mhm,
come together and be able to just see each other as the same concept with Rastafari and African people. We need to look beyond the differences, whether we were Igbo or we were whatever. I mean, yes, it is important for you to, if you know your group and so on, to be able to feel a part of and identify with. However, sometimes these things that, like I'm saying, sometimes is what sometimes prevents us from not achieving the objective because we use these differences to prevent us sometimes from
mhm.
uniting in ways that we should unite as a people versus um, being a part of what is being used to keep us the way we are, which is the divide and rule and conquer game.
In actuality, I understand what you're saying, but in actuality, because the ultimate goal of me being an organization is the United States of Africa. That's what UNIA. It kind of was called the United States of Africa movement. So ultimately, I'm part of that. And if we're talking about Igbo, that is just one, you say, denomination, or you should probably think of it in sense of martial arts. It's a style. So there's other styles. There's a Khan, there's Yoruba, but they're all martial arts styles that can be used to develop a community if people teach it the correct way. So as we know, there's ministries of community development in the Caribbean, but we don't have any African system or culture coming over and saying we're going to develop the community in partnership. We're going to do farming. We're going to teach your culture. We're going to teach the history. Out of the whole continent, we don't see that it's occurring anywhere in the Caribbean. So they're all one style, but
Well, you see, that's the thing. There are some of those things. What I am experiencing on the journey is that I'm not
Mhm.
finding our people willing to invest in these things. So I have several pitch decks and business plans and so on, which includes exactly what you're talking about: training opportunities, educational opportunities, opportunities to expand and develop agricultural projects and communities based on an agrarian style or agro-business community development concepts. But at the end of the day, we have a lot of people with nice fancy talks when it's time for, maybe World Food Day or something to talk about world hunger or whatever. But these same people would spend millions and billions to try to go to Mars and, blow up some spaceships and so on. And that, no problem, we would still invest in that. But the same issue, food security and food sovereignty, and really be, developing societies and communities and making sure that they are eating healthy and having healthy, safe food free from pesticide and all of these things. Um, they don't necessarily want to invest in it. And when I say they, sometimes I am speaking also to ourselves as a people, because one of the groups that I'm a part of, that's one of the things that we are saying. We have a lot of our brothers and sisters who are wealthy as well within Africa and or in the diaspora. Some of
Mm-hmm.
these big basketball stars and rap singers, and even my brethren too within the reggae field as well, reggae singers and so, who could invest some money in some of these kinds of projects. But sometimes we are there in terms of standing up and seeking to help us to achieve things that we can do for ourselves, instead of sometimes having to then turn to sometimes the same European institutions and organizations to get funding to achieve some of the things that we want to, which sometimes we do get the funding, but it may come with some strings attached or some kind of, requirements or guidelines that, if not that route, you might have had a bit more flexibility to do things that might have been more beneficial to the people who you really truly wish to help. And these are some of the challenges that we're facing, real challenges. So, as much as we do have these conversations, we do want to see these things. Sometimes when you do present these things, projects set, everything, looked over, all sounds well and so on, but what? Our people are not ready to put the monies where the mouth is.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. I think you're talking about. Okay, I hear what you're saying. My perspective though was the actual. In Africa we have the governments. For example, the year of return, and
Mm-hmm.
let me put it like this: the brother said, I don't know if his numbers are accurate, but if you take Jamaica and Saint Kitts and Nevis, for example, the ones that the cultures that were taken the most or referenced the most in the St. Kitts and Nevis, Akan, Igbo, Congo, I think Abibio from the same area in Nigeria. But it was multiple groups, and one of them is Akan, which Ghana, that had the year of return, billions of dollars. But now people are complaining and saying that it caused inflation, and the locals didn't benefit, and it caused an imbalance. And there wasn't cultural integration. And then, for example, the Maroons, some of them were on TV in Jamaica saying they wanted to learn the Akan language. So all these millions of dollars and people that were flowing together across seas, a lot of basic stuff hasn't been set up where you would expect the Ghanaian government to say, this is the Jamaican Community Development Ministry, let's do presentations on language and finance it. And it's a lot of stuff like that. Ghana should have been to a lot of these countries already on the cultural level and doing these things, but it's colonialism, I guess. So that's what you would have expected by now. So I don't know. I see this is probably the third or fourth or fifth group that is trying to reach out to the Caribbean from the same space. So, and at the same time, we're having the whole issue in West Africa trying to connect East and South Africa to one country. So the Caribbean has to be brought along one way or the other. If we start something, it takes money. But if we start something, it has
But
to.
for us it's gonna take some re-education. You see, like what we're doing here, this kind of discussion, because I'm telling you, like there are a lot of people who would love to be more informed about Africa from the African side, from the African perspective. What we would have gotten, most of what majority of the people, what would have set the mindset, or the programming, or the software for most of the people in the Caribbean would have been what would have been presented from a Eurocentric point of view. That's the dominant point of view and perspective. Many have been fully indoctrinated through Western Christianity, which is, the most influential. The church, the missionaries played a very critical role in terms of educating the masses. Most of the first schools in the Caribbean were church schools, and the missionaries' mission was not necessarily to get rid of the enslavement and the plantation and the plantocracy system, they actually assured them that they would not necessarily interfere with them. Their job was to help to Christianize them and make them to be more passive and compassionate and be as the scripture that they like to highlight, be more obedient to your earthly master as you would your master in heaven. So all of these were part of the brainwash psychological games that were played along with seeking to maintain that, because they know that majority of the people were already spiritual. And so they banned voodoo and they banned Obiana and they banned all of these other things that were a part of our natural spiritual, perspective, because they knew we were spiritual. So that's part of what is, so that these are some of the things where it is so deep and it's so hard sometimes for you to reach people, because we have to understand the amount of efforts that were placed into brainwashing and indoctrinating and changing the psyche of the people, because they took the shackles off of the hands and the feet, and so they had to find a way still to control and manipulate their assets. We are the assets, and so the best way to do that is to seek to control the minds. And so the task that we are charged with is first to educate and re-educate in some cases. Because even as much as I know, like I'm telling you, there's a lot that I still have to learn. As simple as we're here talking.
Hello,
Um,
brothers. Please, I apologize. My
no problem, man.
Wi-Fi
We totally
giving me a
understand.
lot
We
of problem.
totally
I don't
understand.
know.
Trust me. That guy Wi-Fi, internet, you know what I mean? Yeah, we do understand all of that. So, um, but
Please, pardon me
that's what I'm
because it
saying. We
keeps
need
going off
we
and
need
on.
a re-education. You know what I mean?
Yeah, brother Chukwuemeka. As far as education, what are your thoughts? I've heard that
Yes, I can
I've
hear
heard.
you.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on how you can provide education, and if it's finance, we'll take care of it. But education,
You said what? I didn't follow up what you discussed. I don't know. I'm at
re-educate.
loss here.
What are your thoughts on how you can help re-educate the Caribbean population, Caribbean Africans, on give them education?
Okay. It's we won't deny that it's gonna be challenging, but um, we have to start. We have to start from somewhere, and that is using sensitization
Hmm.
and information that points to the actual fact. Then we target groups. We target groups. Because a lot of people might not be interested having it that for so many years there has been misinformation, or rather no information about the new the new awakening. So, but I still believe that we should start with sensitization and targeting groups and opinion makers. I don't know how you say it, but this is my own opinion.
There is. I haven't. Well, well. There's one point is that there's also another group with Aguilera that's seeking to reconnect people. I understand maybe people aren't on the same page, but some things maybe down the road we could connect with them. There was an Igbo calendar that was produced from a Jamaican woman that is in part of the Igbo World Assembly and Council of Igbo States in
Yeah,
America.
about 2 months ago, there
Hmm.
were some Caribbean nationals that arrived at Aguilera. They arrived in two batches. I wasn't present, but I was invited, but I was engaged during that period. But
Hmm.
I was sent the video to publish on my page, which I did on YouTube. I published it. I published it on X and also on Facebook.
Hmm.
So I think Aguileri is way ahead. I mean, the Azeri is way ahead in this project. So, and that is why I'm seeking to partner with him. Well, by tomorrow when I meet him, I'll be sharing information here too. I'll be sending information on the group.
Yes,
So maybe
one thing that could
pictures
help
and
us.
videos.
One thing that could help us is Claudette. I think her name is Claudette Anderson from Jamaica. She's connected with University of West Indies, and she has the Igbo calendar. But I think it was Brother Yahsonn who said that the West Indies or the university doesn't filter down to the community and to the town. But yet, so it might not be the best solution to only work with university. I've heard. I think Nsukka University has some projects with the Caribbean and Ezeari and the Abagana, I think. But there's some projects that just disconnected. So with Saint Kitts and Nevis, when we put the finance together and we put the projects, um, we have to see what we can do as far as education. I think maybe things like a food competition or just social events together can help. Um, and I know this Saint Kitts and Nevis is part of the Eastern Caribbean state. So just to have meetings regularly, it could Igbo states and the Caribbean states will unite. Just if the conversation keeps expanding, he's introduced me to people in the past where if it was you instead of me, you would have been able to teach them things about culture and things, and it would I
Okay,
know yeah.
that is something that I've not said yet. I don't know if I've told you that I am a cabinet member in the Azeri Council of Chiefs as a chief. I'm a chief here. I'm a chief in the cabinet. So traditionally, because you cannot talk about the Igbo people without exploring the
Er-
cultural
yeah.
part. Because like I said, we are cultural people. We are spiritual people. So
Do you
all
know
these things are part of
you mentioned
our
Anam?
existence.
You mentioned Anam. I knew somebody who did clothes there. He wanted to do similar things, but we got into arguments over the years. But I think that'd be a nice. I don't know if you know people in Anam or you're from there, but there's a
Where
man.
Anam?
Yeah, there's a man named a cabinet member named Mbalogu Anam Ejike Onyora. Uh,
Um,
he does clothes.
I will need to search him through, but you need to write the name. The pronunciation might be affecting my own cognizance of the character.
Mhm.
So maybe you might write it after the call.
Okay, it was just. Well, let me just say that clothes is something that Africans used to do, sharing clothes and cloth, uh, uniform, traditional uniform. If we could have that, it would
So,
be a
so
big
this
thing.
is why we have to engage these kinds of discussions so that now we could incorporate these things as we learn about the Igbo, then we learn about the customs, the tradition, the type of clothing,
Hmm.
the type of foods that they eat, the dishes, maybe like my brother just mentioned, in terms of the spiritual side of it, what are some of the rituals and practices? They don't necessarily have to go into depth if some are personal to the group and so on, but at least you could give an idea of what you would do if you meet somebody who is not a member, who is not a part of the group and so on, what is expected of them and so on, so that we can begin to learn, because a lot of this we are ignorant to. And if you're ignorant to it, then you could be disrespecting somebody without even knowing that you're disrespecting them,
Hmm.
just because of your ignorance, right? And so this
Yeah.
is what it is, these kinds of discussions that would need to be had in certain forums that would afford people, the average people in the community, to begin to engage in these discussions and hear these things, and then maybe do some further research, and then we can continue to do get involved with activities like my brother was talking about,
Yeah.
where we could have maybe things where you display food and so on, and have people who might be a part of different um, cultures and so on. Like yesterday, there was an event on Nevis, a kind of heritage festival where they had different groups of people from all over the world and a lot of different African dishes and people, because Nevis is a sort of melting pot right now of different groups of people,
Wow.
and they're Nigerians, different Africans and so on, who
Wow.
are a part of the community. So they were able to have that sharing exchange and so on. So events like those, we can do that, and then you could have like a speaker like my brother here, who then maybe whether whilst eating or at a specific time, could have a presentation now and speak about the Igbo and give people and maybe have an opportunity for people in the audience maybe ask questions, and you have a question and answer segment and things like that. That helps to sensitize, the masses. So we these are things that we'll have to do. The re-education, the sensitizing, it is going to be critical in order for us to build any serious force within some of the territories.
Hmm. Well, I think as I'm just saying an idea that maybe just having one headquarters in the Eastern Caribbean is good enough. It's just building off what you've done, because I know in the past, you've introduced me to maybe 30 people from Facebook and WhatsApp, and I think me, the way I handle it, and I'm not able to this guy could do a better job than I could. I think it was always me intending to step down for people who are more capable, and his unification movement and how he was born, knowing the language. It's better. Uh, it's better. I thank you for maintaining the connection, because it only takes one person to to start growing a bigger movement, across the region. That's what I think. So,
Well, like
well,
I do my podcast. I'm very much open to, if he is willing to go back to his people and get the clearance and confirmation and so on, to be able to come on and speak about it. I'm open to share the platform. I'm sure that my audience would be open and willing to engage in that discussion, as we would have had discussions in relation to African consciousness and things that I'm doing, because I'm a part of several diasporian groups, and groups that are based on seeking to link the bridge between Africa and the Caribbean. So I am giving you open welcome. You do what you need to do in terms of talking to your people, Chuck, and then you could come back and let me know, and then we could organize a time for you to do that.
and
well, I don't.
go ahead.
Are
He's
you
having
there?
some difficulties with his phone, I think.
Hello.
Yes,
Are you there?
yes,
Yeah,
we're
like
here.
I said, I have the mind of my people. Um,
Yes.
this is for 3 years now. Um, I've gathered a lot of followership, and the Igbo people who has been following our unification movement has really encouraged us to continue. And um, the international, what we are doing now is the international unification, and it is also part of what we have been doing. We have sensitized the homeland, so I think we are free. So if you have any program that you want to feature, I I'll be ready, and I'm sure that our people will be interested too. So let's carry it on. Let's carry it on.
Hey,
Okay.
Yahsonn, the nickname for someone with that name is Chooks. They say Chooks.
Tooks.
Chooks.
Okay, so you know what? Before we leave, because I don't want to butcher the name, give me the proper pronunciation so that I can address you correctly.
Hello.
Yes, I was saying I don't want to butcher your
Yes.
name, so I want you to give me the
Okay.
correct pronunciation so that I can
Okay.
address you
Okay. The
correctly.
full the full I would, okay. The full meaning is Chukwuemeka Chukwuemeka. That's the pronunciation, and it
Chukwuemeka.
means Chukwuemeka. Chukwu is
Chukwuemeka.
God.
Okay.
Yes,
It means what?
God has done well. God has done marvelous.
God done's better. Yeah. Chukwu.
God has done marvelous.
So,
God
or
has
you
done
can,
well. Okay, so
you can.
let me ask.
The easy pronunciation. The easy pronunciation is Emeka. Just call Emeka.
Emeka.
Yes,
Okay.
Emeka.
Now, question. In terms of your name now, because you have a name and you can give me the meaning of the name. Is there a way or a specific reason or a traditional way of naming children, or this was a name that was given to you at a certain stage in life? How does that work out in your society and community?
Okay. It is like this. We give names true, because we believe we believe in God. You understand? We've believed in God before the advent of the colonial masters coming to introduce Christianity to us. So we believe in Chi. Chi is God. Chi is God. CHI, God. Chi. So now all our names, majority of our names starts with Chi or ends with Chi. We have Amarachi, that is grace of God. We have Tobechi, that is praise God. We have Ekenedilichi, that is and thank God too. So mine is Chukwuemeka Chi. You understand? So it is from mine. It is from birth. It is our name. That is the name we bear. So most of Igbo names that you find, it starts or Chi, Chukwu. Chukwu is the Almighty God. Chi Uku, the big God. So mine is Chukwuemeka, but you can call Emeka.
Nice. Interesting. And these are things that people, as simple as it is, that would be very, very much helpful in a lot of our people understanding or getting a better understanding of Africa, why things are done the way it is, how things are done, because now I get a better understanding of how people are named and why certain names and why maybe certain pronounce. So you said the CH, the chi, sorry, is very much significant in the naming, whether before, at the beginning, sorry, or at the end. Sometimes it's usually somewhere in the naming, and you gave a rationale for it. These are things that many of the people in the Caribbean are not knowledgeable of. And so that's why I'm saying us having continuous programs like this, where I would really love to give you that opportunity to be able to highlight as much as possible about the Igbo people and learn as much as possible about, you know, the traditions and the ways of lives we don't have that connection. A lot of us don't have that, and we need to learn more about that. So I am very much grateful that you're open to share that with us, and I think the audience would be very,
more.
very.
There will be. I promise you. Sorry, I promise you that will be more of an insight into the Igbo culture. I mean, there are more. Like when I say that Igbo people are spiritual people, there are things that I can open up to you right now, and you will begin to marvel. And I mean, it will be a very it will be a huge a huge package for your listeners. That is, if you are organizing the podcast. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
honestly.
Well, and I'm very much open to that, because this, as a matter of fact, I am supposed to do a podcast Tuesday coming, right? And one of the things I wanted to do, because I was supposed to do it last week, but we didn't have the show last week, and we had some technical difficulties. There is a case that is going on right now in Jamaica where a citizen would have taken the government to court because of the fact that the OBA laws and the voodoo laws are still on the books from the colonial days. Some Caribbean territories would have removed it from the books. However, Jamaica, and even my country, St. Kitts and Nevis, still have it on the books. And so this brother has sought to challenge the government, and the lawyer who was taken on the case where came on a radio station and was, presenting his arguments for and reasons and rationale for, and pointing out that it was through the colonial um, people seeking to enforce their Christian doctrines and so on on the people, why many of our spiritual traditions and customs were fought
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
vehemently and suppressed. And so, if that is that, so I wanted to present the clip from that interview that the lawyer had, and then start to get the feedback from the people, because I know with a case like that, it means that it is going to set the precedence for those territories who have not removed it,
Let me
and
let
also.
Yeah, let me come in because I think I can help both sides because he needs to be on that program. Chukwuemeka, he's saying obia, which in today we would call oludibia, which would be a
Okay.
traditional oludibia and belogu. Back in the slavery
Dibia.
times, yeah, yeah. Back in the slavery
Yeah.
times, they would go into the bush and use poisons on the slave masters, or they would use psychological tricks. The Dibia would go to work on the slave masters, so the Europeans banned it and they put in um,
Okay.
laws in
Okay, I get it now.
Christianity.
That
For
is
the,
the,
yeah,
the voodoo law. The voodoo law.
yeah.
I've heard about this some time ago in yeah, one of my researches that the Jamaican people
Yeah,
has a
yeah,
law that forbids people from practicing some African spirituality.
yeah.
Right.
And they have the
Yeah,
Igbo
okay, I
name.
get it
So
now. I
the
get it now.
Igbo in the Igbo were probably some of the most ruthless when it came to trying to get their freedom. So in a
Yeah.
it's like a banning on Manala in the Igbo to a certain extent. Or
Yeah. Okay.
that's
Okay.
why it's so hard that
Okay,
yeah.
okay. If we succeed in having this podcast, I will still expose why the Igbo spirituality, the ordinala and the omenala,
Mhm.
encompasses every facet of our human endeavor as Ndibu, because
Mhm.
that is our spirituality. Because we as a people, that's why I said from the beginning, I said Igbo people are spiritual people. We don't really need. I mean, if I mean, outside the brainwash against my people, we have what it takes to commune with God and bring down rain, stop rain, make things. So
My
some
brother,
people might think it's
I'm
magic,
already looking
but
forward to this discussion.
Yeah.
I mean,
honestly, I mean
we're
a lot
having a
of
bit
things.
of it
And
right now, and I'm
uh,
already looking forward to the podcast. So we're gonna plan this,
so how is the
and then
how's the podcast being conducted? How is it? I mean, is it on Zoom? How do you do it? Like, is it
it's
on
well,
voice?
it's not. It's gonna be video and audio. It's not Zoom, but we stream on Facebook. We stream live on Facebook. We stream live on YouTube, and we stream live on Twitch TV at the
Very well,
same
very
time.
well. Facebook,
So it is widely
YouTube,
listened
I'm
to.
I'm there.
We would have a huge audience, and so that's what I'm saying. I want to plan it so that we can promote it. I want to be able to, put out a flyer and so on, and let people know, okay, we're gonna have this discussion and seek as much as possible to get an audience for it. So we're gonna do it
Okay,
properly.
Mhm.
okay, all right, very well. It's a deal then. So you tell me, you organize it. You tell me the date, and from then I prepare, and I'll be your guest.
I have a strong feeling. I have a strong feeling that we're gonna have to have several parts, part two and part three and part four and five and so on, because there's a wealth of knowledge. And I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot that we would not get through on that first session. So I am hopeful that I'm putting you on guard already to
Mhm.
be able to prepare to come back for us to continue engaging in this, because there's a lot that our people need to be informed on in terms of our African consciousness. And it's great to have an African who would be able now to highlight, and not just an African, but a chief or priest of the Igbo community, to be able to highlight and share with us from that perspective.
Hmm.
So I give thanks
Very
for
well.
your acceptance.
Very well. Very well. Very well.
I'm all right.
It's an honor for me.
I'm
It's an honor.
recording this too, and just some because the world is watching what we're doing, even if we don't know it. So it's I'm looking at based on this is years of talking to the same people. I think it's probably likely that we can make this this could go on years. I think based on the
Well,
good communication as far as no, just as far as the Caribbean in general, finding a base in the Caribbean. Because I know I've talked to Haitians for a long time. They're the woman she lives near me and maybe 2 hours away. I haven't invited her, but she's ready to add a new dimension too. So Saint Kitts and Nevis, Haiti, Virgin Islands, and we have a legal connection to Grenada. I think not legal. Um, the basically the Governor General of Grenada was crowned or given an Igbo title. So what? So that we know they're under the European kings, but we've been trying to challenge that from Grenada. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we can. This will be consistent. That's all I can say. We'll just take it a day at a time. But yeah, we'll be
All right.
consistent.
The podcast definitely will expose a lot. And it will strengthen our communication. You see that.
Mhm. Okay. And the Haitian
Okay.
women, if I had the Haitians, they might have people in Miami and with all sorts of different Caribbean connections and things. So I don't want to, and it could overwhelm the conversation. But I don't want because they have, they're being invaded right now by the USA government, and they had their
no,
president.
in time we could have several segments of it. As you know, so maybe if, 1 week we could have the brother on, and the next time we could have somebody from a different Caribbean territory, maybe highlighting from a different perspective. So, but we just keep the conversation going. That's it. We want to be able to keep that action going, and I want to be able to provide the platform to be able for us to have that discussion. It is ripe. It is a time for it. Especially with what's going on with the Ibrahim Traore and the other countries that are standing up and saying, "Hey, let's get rid of our former colonial rulers, get rid of your military, we can take care of ourselves."
Mhm.
That revolution also need to start to be brought forward to the Caribbean as well, where we show our leaders that we don't want to continue to hold on because we still have the vestiges of the colonial masters, and some of these people who are supposed to be more educated people are aware that the system exists and the system was never designed to benefit the masses,
Mhm.
but the status quo benefits them and their cronies and their followers and supporters. And so they play the game of continuing to perpetuate a system that they know is affecting the masses. But because they play the game of divide and rule and have the people along
Mhm.
parties and party lines, the game is allowed to be played. So that is part of why too it is so important for us to begin to educate the masses so that they could understand the part that they play in the game.
Mhm.
Because if it's a game and you don't know your role, then those who understand their role will play their role and play it effectively and would always end up being the winner. And
Mhm.
so the re-education is important. The us being that gap now that is going to be able to start to stimulate that level of consciousness within the minds of the people is going to become the critical catalyst for what we expect going forward.
Mhm.
So my brother, I look forward to us beginning. It may sound simple as we are here, but eventually it's going to grow into much more than what we expect, and we're going to look back. Today is the 1st of June, 2025, and said that bye. I remember when we had this conversation, and
Mhm.
here's where we are now.
There's already discussions going on in Jamaica. So I know I'm looking at a map. If I'm verbally committing that St. Kitts and Nevis should be our headquarters, 'cause I can see how U.S. Virgin Islands, the people here in Jacksonville are committed. They're right next door, and Grenada at the bottom of the Eastern Caribbean has been. We know Maurice Bishop was very committed. So these community conversations, he put it on the line for us. So the whole Eastern Caribbean, Jamaica is already doing things on Obia, at UWI and Igbo people. So they're already doing things, but that's like 3 Eastern Caribbean community. Virgin Islands, St. Kitts, Nevis, and Grenada. That's 3 in the same region. We could count on Haiti. We could count on Jamaica. That's a large base, you know. And if the woman, she's in Florida, if she activates Miami, and it could be very big overnight. You never know. So I think it's important to commit to St. Kitts and Nevis, so we don't want to be jumping around different programs and different islands, and then people lose trust in us because we're not consistent. So I'm verbally committing, and we could drop documents, you know, if we need
Well,
to.
trust me.
Yeah.
I love I do have family connections in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Grenada is a place that I do have some connections in, and we really love to develop and enhance communications with as well. So I'm loving the sounds of at least those 3 territories to work with initially, and then we could spread our wings.
You said you don't have in Grenada?
No, I do have family connections in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and in Grenada I have a small family, but connections, good connections in Grenada as well.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah, the thing is, so even it is, that's life. You invite people. Well, we know Grenada what they did for, so they'll be committed. We just have to show up. In fact, I had an ambassador. Discussed. I discussed putting on an event. A maroon autonomous communities, we call it in Igbo land, autonomous communities. You might call it off-grid living or livity, but we have autonomous communities where the communities are supposed to develop themselves and make partnerships like this. So Grenada has that same ideology, and an ambassador asked me how could they help, and that was maybe 2-3 months ago. I haven't had any consistent leadership until now talking about.
well, you haven't spoken to me because I have solutions.
Yeah,
and this is what I'm saying.
yeah.
I have projects. I have a 1 hectare model project. I have a Grow Mobile app, which is like the Amazon for agriculture.
Please,
Yeah.
I would like to take a leave now because
Okay.
I
It's
have
okay.
a meeting.
It's okay. Thank you for everything. And
I'm late.
okay, Chukwuemeka, I
Yes,
can't
man.
do.
Thanks a lot. We will definitely
Yeah.
connect. We will reconnect and make sure we organize for that for
Okay.
the podcast.
Okay, brother.
Thank you.
So I count 4 islands, and it's Miami is ever activated. Maybe the sister from Central Florida with Haitians. They got a whole neighborhood that's built modeled after Haiti and Miami, and the ambassadors all down there. But to put it transparently, it was the Grenada ambassador to Cuba, and Cuba has all these. They're associated with Russian socialism, but the thing with Cuba is that a lot of their revolution is African.
We need to
African.
sometimes take the politics out of these things and just deal with people and helping people and saving people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The thing with Cuba that people hide is that most of their descendants are Haitians, and they brought that African cultural system. So they have royal societies in Cuba. So Cuba has a
But
large Haitian
one of the
society.
things that they learned pretty early, Cuba and Haiti, is self-reliance and self-sustenance. And so what we really need to do, and which is what I am proposing, some of the projects that I have proposed is to be able to have agro-business-based community self-sustained projects. Where inside of that you have housing part of it, the business side of it, the agro-processing side of it. So everybody would be taken care of in that aspect, and it's a agrarian, so to speak, mindset. So you begin with the end in mind. You're gonna have your own little farmers markets. You're gonna have your own little supermarkets. Inside there, you're gonna be making your own jams, your own jellies, your own flour. You're making your own all of the things that you're gonna have, and then you would have the ability to export as well, because I have connections with a program that you can get USDA certified organic status, so then you can have your produce certified organic and could get back into the US market, and the products that you create too would be certified organic and you can get back into. I'm saying these are things that we can do. We need for access to the funding,
What
hardly
I'm gonna
means
do,
that's.
yeah, what I'm going to do is I have partnerships in USA where we're saying, well, I've talked about it, but we're going to see if we could generate our own funds in the USA and start these projects. But it's just it's been an interesting ride up to this point, and now a lot of people are very people are stepping forward because of what's going on in West Africa. So I'm happy. Saint Kitts and Nevis actually makes a lot of sense as far as federation. I've seen 6 countries that were in a federation at one point. So it's been a regional unifier, or through colonialism, it's been a regional organization place. And it's all good. Haiti, Grenada, St. Kitts, Nevis, USVI. That's a strong base. And Jacksonville, where I'm at, is going to be key to that. So, well, I'll talk to the sister. She's going to bring a whole new dynamic. I think I've seen connections in different cities that she has as a Haitian queen,
Mhm.
and she's actually pushing to restore the Haitian Empire, which was the village system and autonomous communities and security and all that. So we know what's going on there, but they've been pushing that 200 years. So we'll see. Um, we'll keep it. So, but I'm firmly committing that St. Kitts and Nevis is basically a headquarters. I'm going to reach out to our Trinidad family and see what they say, because I understand they have their own politics and programs, United Nations and things. So I'm gonna reach out, but I'm committing St. Kitts Nevis, Anguilla. I've reached out to someone in Anguilla who's Igbo yesterday, from Igbo land. Montserrat, yeah. So yeah, what was the other one? Bermuda.
All right.
All right, yeah. All right. So we'll stay in touch. Well, I just have impromptu calls, but at this point, it's just St. Kitts and Nevis. It's you and the Haitian woman who are online in WhatsApp, and the Trinidad people that haven't responded consistently. But and I understand it's because of they're in the United Nations and things like that. So maybe we just we'll move on without them. So that's fine.
No, here's what here's what we're gonna need to do. We're gonna need to drop in and announce and present a Zoom link
Hmm.
in the chat. And we set it whether it's a week ahead or 2 weeks ahead, and we put in the Zoom link. We're gonna have this meetup on Zoom, blah 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 blah, whatever it is that we're gonna do, the agenda is, and whatever it is, and we set it, and we see how many people come on the Zoom, and we start working from there, because you have to still
Hmm.
um, be conscious of the fact that people have other things to do. They got, what I mean, whatever. But if they at least know ahead, you wouldn't get everybody, but at least there's some people might be able to say, hey, if they're really serious, they would set aside the time and know, well, hey, coming on closer to the end of the day, or a couple of days before, you send a reminder, hey, remember the link. We got the Zoom, or even the same day. Remember to meet, 3 o'clock this afternoon, 5 o'clock this afternoon, and we start doing this and get ourselves rolling. You can't just give up on people like that. Let's at least try, to have some formal gatherings and
Hmm.
get opportunities, and then that way we could get people to maybe volunteer some, time to the organization,
Hmm.
and people can take on certain responsibilities. So then we get some
Hmm.
help along the way, so that we can really have something that's really moving and mobilized. So that's the
Hmm.
approach that we'll have to take.
I, I'll,
So
I'll, I'll agree to that, but I can agree to keeping them in the forum. But at this point, well, not at this point. In general, if we say, okay, the headquarters is this network, you've done it
yeah, so
before in
you
the
have a
past.
small group for that. So then you'll have like that
In,
for the executive, or then the main people. You'll have a special group for that. But then
no,
you need to have a forum where everybody else still who want to be a part and help it grow and so on.
yeah. Let's say let me put it like this: in Saint Kitts and Nevis, it's going if in 20 years or 40 years when we're no longer gone, if we say that's the headquarters and this is where we're having the meeting at this time in the future. some people might have their own. Well, let's say like this: some people right now have their own connections to different places, where maybe they don't want to answer to St. Kitts and Nevis, or that maybe they answer to Geneva, and the United Nations takes precedent. So it might be they're never available consistently to plan something or execute something. But I've been
No, we're going to formalize. When we set up, we'll set up and get formalized.
because I've already invited months ago an ambassador from the Caribbean, and these countries, they're not as big as 80 million or something. It's very easy to contact some politicians and say that
Yeah,
this is
bro, hold on.
uh-huh.
Yes, what you have to understand
Mhm.
is even though you might be able to access these
Mhm.
politicians might not necessarily be in the frame of mind or on the same mindset that you are on or
Mhm.
we are on. And that's the challenge. And this is what I'm saying. A lot of these
Grenada,
people
Grenada.
they subscribe to the system.
But I'm telling you, Grenada. We'll see. But Grenada historically has
Well,
been
Grenada might be a
different.
different because
Different.
if you look at the history of Grenada,
Yeah.
Grenada's history is definitely different. So
Mhm.
the leaders might have a different mindset and they may function differently.
Mhm.
But a lot around the Caribbean, they just continue to maintain a system because it's all about the guaranteed a certain amount
Exactly.
of money, they guaranteed the per diem, they guaranteed whatever if they
Exactly.
continue to do whatever.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. United Nations, Geneva, they'll dress them up and fly them out, and that's why I think people. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them. Some people, but but
So,
I'm
so
committing
you
to
have to
St.
be
Kitts and
strategic.
Nevis.
That is why I'm saying we have to be strategic. We'll have to begin with, desensitizing the education in some
Mhm.
territories. Some territories might be more further ahead in terms of, like those territories that have the maroon communities and do actually identify Igbo territories and so on who are more further ahead. Then when we engage with them, then they'll help to educate, others in the smaller territories as well so that they themselves will start to formalize themselves as well. So,
I don't think it's
but
only.
it's gonna take an effort.
Let me put it like this: I don't think it's only. Let's say I have contacts all over Africa. If maybe they all want to come on, not just Igbo, onto a program. We like you're people over in the Caribbean haven't offered me a program consistently. Even though I presented, I have people from Burkina Faso. I have people from different parts of Nigeria. I have people from Sudan that want to present. So it's
I would love that.
let's say
I would
you're
love that.
you're one of the only people that are presenting are being fair. I'm gonna put it like that. Some people have not been fair, and
Well, bring them on, because I'm ready to welcome them.
okay,
Burkina Faso right now, especially, bring them on,
okay,
because I
I can
want to be
pass
able
the.
to make that connection right now. You see that what I'm talking about. You see some of the things that Burkina Faso is doing right now in terms of agriculture.
Mhm.
It would be nice for us to collaborate and
I can put
create some
yeah.
ventures together between St. Kitts and Nevis and Burkina Faso from an agricultural perspective.
I'll forward you that
So
contact. I'll
if you
put
can if you
yeah.
can connect me to the leadership, even if not Abraham himself, but at least maybe his agricultural minister, I mean, that would be wonderful.
If you have a team, right? Because I have a minister of the Sahel from Facebook. They're advertising themselves. I'll put it like that. A lot of these guys on Facebook. So yeah, I
Okay.
got it's like the yellow. I use Facebook like the yellow pages. Remember, yellow pages. Yeah. So I have a contact who just said thank you for some information I sent. So and we got a UNIA there, some activists who want to unite the. It's just a lot of movement. So okay, I'll
Well,
send.
that's what we need right now. We need to be able to develop and have these kind of relations and investments. Like I'm saying, some of these territories may have monies,
Mhm,
right? A
mhm,
project that we might need to do in the Caribbean, like one of my project might just be a $20 million. Not strange. You
mhm,
know what I mean? These are people who spend hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars for projects. And
mhm,
when you spend $20 million, you're not just affecting a village, you're affecting an entire country. So
mhm,
imagine us a project that an agricultural project that has an impact on an entire country. So that's
mhm,
what I'm talking about.
mhm.
So let's make these connections, man. I mean,
I'll put it. I'll put it
Let's
there.
not talk about it. I love Burkina Faso, not
No,
talking.
I'll send you the contact, but that a lot of times that's not how partnerships work. But we could probably I'll forward you the contact. But this is what we're doing here as far as this is a cultural base, and when they see that it's a solid connection, then they start to say, okay, we put money here because the
I don't have
Caribbean.
any problem with that.
Yeah.
Let's build it. Let's build a
Okay.
relationship. Let's
Okay.
build it. Let's communicate. Let's get it. Let's make it happen.
I'll send two contacts. So one, I'll send two contacts. Just communication. You to me, you represent the whole Eastern Caribbean, and from there, getting Haiti and Jamaica and stuff, the bigger islands, it's not a problem. So I think we'll have the
No.
whole Caribbean shortly, just because we have communication. A lot of people are not even communicating with Burkina Faso. They just marched.
Right.
So yeah. So all right, we'll end the call. There was a good talk, and we'll follow up consistently. Thank you.
All right, man. Give
All right,
thanks.
give thanks. God bless.